Okay, so I'm showing you how to add photos to your interview. So I've already got my audio here. I'm going to drag a photo onto my timeline. And I'm going to do this a couple of times. You're going to notice these photos are zoomed in quite a bit. By default, those are 3. Photos are 5 seconds long in Premiere, but you can make them any length you want because it's a still. So you can make it, 10 minutes. You can make it 30 seconds. It's up to you. You want to feel the flow of your movie, but I'm going to show you how to add the Ken Burns effect. So once you have your photos on the timeline, you can double click on them to bring it up to your source panel up here. And then we're going to go to effect controls up here. And we want to make sure we understand the blue triangle is called a playhead. And depending on where our playhead is important for the effect we're going to add. So we're going to move our playhead to the beginning of this photo. You'll see it up here in the source that it is to the left of this. And we're going to turn on both scale and position stopwatch. And these are going to toggle animation. What you'll see happen is it gives a keyframe at that first point. If I move my playhead and make any changes to position or scale, it will add a second keyframe, or I can manually add keyframes by clicking these buttons right here where my mouse is moving. So I'm going to go back. These arrows next to that keyframe thing will go to that next keyframe so you're sure that you're on the exact spot. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit. So I'm clicking on scale and I'm dragging to the left. You can also type this in. What we don't want to happen is the picture to be so small that it doesn't fill the frame. So I don't want any black lines on top, bottom, left, or right. So that's full right there. So that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start at 37% of this photo, and that's filling the screen completely. Now I'm going to move my playhead to the end of the photo, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to zoom in, let's say 55. In fact, I'm just going to type 55. But I want to position her so she stays kind of on the right third of the frame. And what you'll see now when I play this image is it's just going to slowly zoom in. And this is what's called the Ken Burns effect. It takes a still image and moves it so that it doesn't feel like we're just looking at a still. So if this image zooms in, this image, the one that came before it, if I click there, you'll see there's no keyframes now because I have that photo selected. I'm going to turn on my position and scale again. And I'm going to move to the end of this photo because this is where I want it to end. I want it to end at 100%. No, I want it to end smaller. So I'm going to reduce this down to 55. And then I'm going to move this forward. And I don't know if I want to start at 100 here. So I think I'm going to instead change this to, let's say, 85. And as I play through, you'll see this one zoom out. And then the next one will zoom in. Now, the speed in which the zoom happens depends on the percentage and the size, so you get to play with all of that. You can also have the photos like move slightly left to right, so that's what I'm going to do with this one that we were just looking at. I'm going to go back to my first keyframe, and I'm going to have her slightly over to the left. And as it zooms out, I'm going to have it move to the right. But again, watching, I don't have black bars show up on the left, right, top, or bottom here. So now it'll zoom, but it'll also move to the left or right. And then we'll get to the next one. Notice it stops moving right before it ends because I have my keyframe there. So I can move my keyframe just like that to the end of it so that it will move the whole time. And if I really want to get fancy, I can go down here to effects and I can search for like a cross dissolve and drop that on the two photos. And so when it gets to that movement, it's going to dissolve into the next one. Same thing, I notice it's not quite moving where I want it to, so I'm going to adjust this so that it's at the very beginning. So it'll both be moving nonstop. And that's the Ken Burns effect. So what you're going to be doing for project one is finding images. You'll see all that instructions there. And once you have your images, you're going to put them on a timeline to your interview.